Friends, we have seen a few basic videos regarding the OSI model. Just for the sake of completeness, now I would like to take you through the details of the OSI model. So this particular video is in addition to my earlier videos that we have seen. So as we have seen that there are 7 layers in the OSI model. Starts with physical layer, data link layer, network, the transport, session, presentation, and application. So it's a 7-layer model. Now we'll see one by one the details of all these layers, but at the outset I would like to recommend you that there are additional sources that you can go through regarding this particular topic. There is a very old book and renowned book by Tenenbaum on computer networks. Apart from that, there are many vendors who have come out with very good resource material on this particular topic, and that is Cisco, Novell, or even 3Com. So these are very renowned vendors as far as the networking hardware and software is concerned. So let me take you quickly through the network goals that we have seen so many times, that communication is the main benefit of network. So the basic aim of studying all this OSI model is the communication of data from the source to destination, and this can be for so many number of processes like email or video conferencing and so on. The most advantageous thing about the networking is the cost effectiveness. You can share the resources, such as information is the main resource that is shared through the network. So apart from that, software and hardware can also be shared. For instance, you have a printer, very expensive printer. So instead everybody buy that printer or procure that printer, you can share that printer through networking. And even for that matter, software like MATLAB and all other expensive softwares, so those can be shared by using network. So in a way, this network saves you a lot of money, and all these resources are shared by using the network. Apart from that, when we discuss about this OSI model, we should know what are the predominant applications that network is meant for, such as email, for instance. That we have so many email services today. Email is the main or most dominant application which is used on the network. Apart from that, nowadays you must be familiar with chatting application or the web browsing, posting everything on the web, sharing of documents and pictures through website or through chat or through mail. So many means are there. Even video streaming services are common nowadays. Another important application of the network is accessing a centralized database of information. So instead the data is stored and retrieved by individual machines, here the entire database is shared on the main server, and then it can be shared with the clients, n number of clients, provided that the system administrator allows the rights to that particular client. So nowadays even the mobile office concept is being used very widely, and mobile workers, you will find it everywhere, and therefore this is also one of the main application of computer networking, and in the context of OSI layers, OSI model that we are studying in this particular part of this subject. As far as the network structure is concerned, those two important concepts is subnet. Host we have already seen. Host is nothing but it is the node which is connected on the network. Now what is a subnet? Subnet is basically a part of the network which carries messages from host to host. So this subnet is made up of telecommunication links like the circuits or the channels, or it is also called as sometimes trunks. And all these circuits or channels or trunks, they are connected by using something called as switching elements, such as routers or switches. Old days there used to be hubs. Now there is a concept of routers and switches. Now what are the hosts? So as I already mentioned, host is nothing but the end user machines or computers. Sometimes they are also called as nodes. So in this way, these two parts are very, very important as far as the network structure is concerned. Now, another thing, whenever we talk about the communication over the network, or we discuss about the architecture of the network, then the most important thing is what constitutes the architecture. So basically, the set of layers that we discussed in the previous videos, the 7 layers, that is physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer, session layer, presentation layer, and application layers. These are the 7 set of layers, and with that the protocols, the rules and regulations of communication. So they basically constitute the conception of network architecture. Now, when we discussed protocols, then there are hierarchies of protocols, because you will find that networks are organized as layers. Why those layers are existing? Because you want to reduce the entire design complexity of the network. If you take the entire problem of network designing in one go, then there will be a lot of complexity, and this lot of complexity can be reduced by dividing the tasks of design. And therefore, in the networking arena, you will find that layers are basically used for reducing the design complexity, so that one can just conceptualize that what part of hardware will take care of what kind of functionality, or which is that software part which is going to take what kind of functionality. Now, these layers, they offer certain services to the higher layers. We have seen this, that every layer has to work with the every other layer which is just above that particular layer or just below that layer. So every layer offers some services to the higher layers, and between these layers, a particular layer, the higher layer, and the layer just below it, there is something called as the interface. So this is the interface which lies at the boundary of the adjacent layers, that is called as interface. As far as services are there, so there exist two kinds of services: the services which are connection oriented and services which are connectionless. So these two services are very common as far as the network architecture is concerned. Now, we have already discussed what do we mean by interface. The interface which exists at the boundary of these layers. So this interface basically defines which primitives and services the lower layer will offer to the upper layer. So what is that to be offered to the upper layer? The primitives and services is defined by the interface. Now, what are the primitives? Primitives are operations such as request or some indication, certain response, or certain confirmation. So if you go just step by step, then what is the protocol hierarchy? So the protocol hierarchy basically consists of the services every layer offering to every other layer. Apart from that, it has also got interface which lies at the boundary of the layers. Now, the services, they can be connection oriented services or connectionless services. And what is basically interface? Interface is the entity which defines the primitives and services a particular layer is offering to its lower layer, or lower layer the services and primitives which is offering to the upper layer. And what are the primitives? Primitives are 4 kinds of basic operations: requesting a particular thing, indicating a particular thing that certain thing has happened or certain thing that is accomplished, responding to a certain request, and confirming. For example, the data transfer is completed, then its confirmation can also be a primitive. So these 2, 3, or 4 kinds of primitives, they are very common in the network architecture. Now, what are the design issues for the layers? So if you take any layer, then the predominant design issues are as indicated on this particular slide. What is the mechanism for connection establishment? What are the rules for data transfer? Then the most important thing is how the error control is basically taken care, because we are discussing about the channel, and channel, there exists a lot of noise. So the basic mechanism of error control is very important as far as the design of the layers are concerned. Another important thing is there is lot of speed incompatibility between the sender and receiver, or between the receiver and the sender. So sender can be faster, receiver can be slower, or receiver could be faster and sender could be slower. So how the layer is going to address this incompatibility of speed between the sender and receiver? That is one more swamping. It's called as basically swamping. So it's how the swamping is going to be addressed. One more thing you will find it on the networking, that inability of processes to accept long messages. So if the message is very long, then in the networking scenario, the long messages are broken down into the chunks of small data packets, and therefore the processes, they are not really enabled to accept the long messages. So that's why whenever certain specialized applications such as video streaming, they are designed in a networking environment, there are challenges of accepting the long messages. Therefore, there is a provision of buffering and other mechanisms. So this is a typical issue in the networking scenario. And another issue is routing in the case of multiple paths, because as we have seen that a long message is divided into a smaller chunks of messages, and these smaller chunks of messages, they are now routed through various routes, because there exist a lot of various alternate routes in the networking. So a route which leads to lesser time or lesser noise, or leads to a very smooth data transmission reception is basically chosen. That kind of intelligence is built into the devices which are used for switching in the networking scenario, and this intelligence is also embedded in the layers, and this is also one of the most important design issues as far as the networking architecture is concerned. Now talking about this open system interconnection, OSI, a model which is developed by ISO, that is International Standards Organization. So there are two things. There are benefits and there are negative aspects also. So what are the benefits? So it allows you to interconnect different systems. So in a networking, there exists a lot of heterogeneous kind of things. All the machines are different, the nodes are different, or what we say as hosts, they are different. Their architecture is different, their processor is different, their chipset is different, their operating system is different, and vendors are different, of course. So therefore, interconnection of different systems is made available or made possible only because of the OSI model. Since OSI model allows a sort of compatibility between all the vendors, all the heterogeneous in the heterogeneous scenario, because this is an open model and which is not owned by a single vendor or single vendor solution. So since it's an open model, and since there are apex bodies like IEEE or ACM, and it is mandatory, and since this model has been backed up by ISO, so therefore there is some sort of mandatory binding on the vendors when they develop hardware or software. They have to have a sort of compliance with this particular model, and therefore this model is in existence, and that's the benefit. It allows a certain compatibility with the vendors, with the software design, with the hardware design, and so on, in addition to reducing the complexity in the networking environment. Now, what are the negative aspects? Since it's an open model, the entire functionality, the entire design, the entire thing is open, and therefore it is very much prone to hacking, and therefore it is less secure. So in this particular model, even the systems can be less stable. So that is one more negative aspect of this particular model. So barring these negative aspects, the main advantages of this particular model, it's open, it's not a proprietary of any vendor, and then it divides the complex task of networking, data communication, in much simpler tasks. So that is another advantage of this particular model, and therefore this model has gained a very wide acceptance amongst all the vendors.